What's the most stupid rule in your school workplace? My old elementary school had extreme policies against blood. One time my tooth got knocked out, and I got a blood stain on my shirt, and they made me put a band-aid on the shirt. Well, they didn't want the shirt to bleed out, duh. The CEO of my company created a Google spreadsheet to document everything that goes on. Everything. Quotes, sales orders, PM activity, drafter assignments, shipping stuff, everything. Never mind that we have an ERP system set up, or other computer programs that track this crap. He wants all of us to live by this Google document, and it isn't even tied to any of our software. It just exists out in space, and it's just one more thing we have to keep track of over the 100 other things we're responsible for. If you have a CIO, tell her or him, having a second set of data makes all the time and money spent on the ERP pointless. I can't believe someone that stupid is allowed to run a company. The school my son attends does not allow the wearing of hoodies in the school unless the pocket is sewn shut. Their problem is not with the hood, but with the fact that the kids can touch their hands together inside their pocket. This is the most balls explanation I have ever heard. You have to take a training course offered by the university in order to use their milling lathe etc machines in a workshop. The training courses don't exist. That sounds like the training course thing for renting cameras and tech from my college library. The course exists, but the form you have to sign doesn't. We can't bring down our bags purses with us to drop off kids at their buses at the end of the day because it makes kids think we are in a rush to go home. They're kids and they do not care. They want to go home, too. I was confused at first, not understanding you're a teacher. You can't wear your own jacket, even when it's freezing outside and our jackets aren't prepared for those temperatures. My school. Funny thing was my school didn't have uniform, but we also had a no jacket during the school day rule. You had to put it in your locker. The bad thing was when there would be snow outside and kids would have to go out to classes in portables without their coats. My department head wants me to keep a written logbook, but also email him my list of tasks at the end of the week. He insists it must be written in the book. I am not allowed to print out what I have already typed. It's ridiculous. Not so much the rule, but a teacher's method of enforcement. So back in the 2010, in my high school you weren't allowed to use your phone, in class or between classes. This also included listening to music in the hallways. Since most students used to run the headphones up under their shirt, this one teacher used to cut the earbuds of students listening to music. This became an issue when people started using more and more expensive earbuds. In high school we had a rule that said we couldn't wear Red Cross gangs. Keep in mind this was in rural Oklahoma, where the closest actual gang was in Dallas, TX some 120 miles away. Plot twist, the school colors were red and blue. Blue is fine, totally not a gang color. Not really a rule, but it pisses me the frick off that optional company outings are still being forced down our throats. They try to guilt trip us by saying, oh, it's for you, it's how the company appreciates you, the company will spend money on this. We get that, but I'm a person who doesn't want to lose my weekend. I don't give a frick if y'all say I won't experience the team building aspect of it. I perform consistently above expectation. I work well with my team. With or without that crap, leave my weekends alone. If you really wanted us to come, and if you really valued us, you schedule that crap on the weekdays and pay us. Don't make us spend our weekends with work people. They say it's optional, but when we go into our annual appraisals, attendance for said events are factored in. Granted it's minimal, but still it irks me that I'll lose on some small percent because of company events attendance. Absolute BS. In the military that's referred to as mandatory fun. No hot food at our desk, even stuff like toast, but I can have a cup of tea at my desk. I know which one would be more of a disaster if I knocked it over. Sounds like somebody got tired of having incredibly aromatic foods nearby and made a crappy blanket rule. I used to work in an office where you had to ask to go to the bathroom. They also had a very aggressive attendance policy. Someone came in with norovirus a few weeks into the new policy. You can guess how that went. My supervisor was male too, and asked why I had to go to the bathroom so much one week. I told him I was on my period. He acted disgusted and asked why I couldn't hold it. Yep. Not my current school, but at my middle school during recess every student had to wear a necklace with a piece of paper listing all the outdoor rules for the entirety of recess, and if you took it off you had to go back to class. No cell phones at work. No charging of phones at work. The reasoning being that phones are nothing but a distraction, and you don't get to leech off the electricity bill. Mind you, this place is a huge banquet hall. Servers are spread over 3, sometimes 4 floors. Phones are an incredibly useful tool then. Can I call Roger down in storage and tell him to bring more red wine glasses, since he is already down there getting supplies for the bar? No, I have to go down there myself, losing valuable time. And you don't get to leech off out electricity bill. Estimated cost of charging a phone, 24 cents per year. Company likes to say they have an open door policy. A couple co-workers spend the majority of their day chatting and watching movies instead of doing work, and our manager said she didn't want to hear any more complaints about it because we were just being petty and to keep our complaints to ourselves. They are fricking the manager. Either that or they are her niece and nephew. You may not wear Birkenstocks or anything of the sort within my classroom, said the teacher wearing a fresh pair of Birkenstocks. It was a power move. Didn't want anyone to steal their style. No drinks at the check stands because it isn't polite. I have never had a customer complain about keeping myself hydrated, so I can keep myself at 100%. Had too many co-workers at the previous employer brought in medical notes for a glass of water. Couldn't have it on the floor if you were on sales, but you sure saw every manager with one. The one that annoys me the most is no music. We used to be able to bring in speakers and play some music at a not so loud volume to make the shift go better in our department, but they don't trust us to play music and be able to pay attention to our job, so we've been told not to bring in any music. There's been a noticeable lack of spirit since then. At my previous workplace, the manager at the office didn't let us have chit-chats during down hours. What's wrong with getting to know my co-workers? I ended up not knowing much about my co-workers except for their names. Probably someone who believes in the maxim familiarity breeds contempt. Catholic schools always have this weird barber's cut only rule for male students. Whenever someone asks why was this even a rule aside from looking uniform or just for discipline, they'll always say, because men are more handsome in that cut, or because long hair is for the devil or troublemakers. That last part didn't make any sense, because didn't Jesus freaking Christ have long hair in his life? We used to have a peacetime implemented in grade school. We had to be quiet for the last 15 minutes of our lunchtime. Everyone had to speak in a harsh manner during the period. The problem was, the officers for each class used it as a power tripping method for writing up noisy students. This then caused people to make it a game and force each other to make noise, tickling, slapping, etc. And it was implemented, I presume, for the benefit of the teachers who just had enough of the noise kids were making during lunchtime. However, it backfired immensely since people were making up for the 15 minutes by being extra noisy before the start of peacetime and also during that little pocket of free time right after peacetime and just before the teacher comes back. Sometimes it would spill over during activities in class. When I was in middle school, they had a rule where you weren't allowed to have your backpack in class, meaning you had to go grab your books after each class from your locker with only a 4-minute window or else you get a tardy. And although these didn't personally affect me, you weren't allowed to wear a hat or chew gum in class. Teachers, cease bullying. Oh well, teachers as well. Seize gum, get out of this room, you degenerates. If you ever comment or reply on a social media post, you are now subject to the media guidelines of the company. Generally speaking, they are pretty okay, but they're a bit draconian. So even though I'm considered to be an extremely heavy user of the software, that is, integrated with my daily life, there's no mention of it anywhere on any of my social media profiles. Normally that's nothing to be too worried about, except that there's a photo and a full profile of me on their careers website about some stuff I've done in the past. There's this rule called zero tolerance that public schools follow, where if you are in any kind of physical altercation, both students are being suspended, no ifs, ands or buts about it. This doesn't work when you're getting bullied and you have to defend yourself when they get physical. This also really doesn't work when you're the bigger person in the situation. I was tall for my age when I was a kid. I was even taller when I hit freshman year, but I was also heavier. So the smaller skinny kids would make fun of me and get physical, thinking that just because they're small and fast they can get away with it. I used to get the crap kicked out of me in elementary school, and I'm 100% sure it led to my social anxiety that I fought with to this day. But people won't think I was bullied if they looked at my record of 13 pink slips in elementary, 4 suspensions in the same year. In middle school I had double the detentions and I had to take a kid to court and I still almost got expelled. Parents, the biggest and best thing you can do for your child if they are being bullied is to support them and let them know that if they are defending themselves that you will stand by them the whole way. Don't belt your kid just because he didn't want to deal with a kid punching him in the kidneys every day in the lunch line. My school gives out very lengthy suspensions for people caught vaping in the bathroom, but also for people who are in the bathroom at the time. They could have no business with the kid vaping whatsoever, but they could still get suspended. The school probably thinks that in the majority of cases, it's a safe assumption a kid wouldn't do something illicit unless they had privacy. That said, probably not wise to make a blanket ruling and a hefty punishment based on the assumption. In my university it's not allowed for male students to talk to female students. Also, strict clothes rules. No ripped jeans, no shorts, no sleeveless shirts, nothing exposing basically. I'm in a satellite office with only 2 people. I have a laptop computer and an app that lets calls come to my cell phone and lets my call from my work number on my cell phone. There is no real reason I need to be in the office ever, but my company refuses to allow remote work. Even if the other person is on vacation or out sick or something, I'm supposed to come into the office and sit here alone all day. And for those curious, there is something where it can track my hours while I'm on the work internet, but not at home. I'd install a VPN on that office laptop, lol. My kid's school says drinks need to be water only, no chocolate or unhealthy snacks. Then in summer they get to sell our kids sugary lollipops without issue. Well, the drinks part I understand, as spilled Coke is much more of an issue to clean up than some water. The other part sounds like a monopolistic business. My senior year of high school, one of my grandfathers passed away and I missed one day for the funeral. I showed up the following week with a kind, detailed note from my mom, and my absence was not excused because it was not a doctor's appointment with a doctor's note. I got pulled into HR for them to go over the no biting policy here at work. Total balls. Can't bite someone even if they deserve it. Bite me. Quote from Man Bitten. Uniform requirement. In a warehouse, where we don't deal with customers, and only if you work on the floor, you get a credit taken if you don't wear the polo shirt. Librarian here. Our library, by rule, doubles as a day shelter for individuals experiencing homelessness. While I agree that our community Austin needs to have these facilities, my perspective is that for a library to be welcoming to all, it can't become a place it isn't suited for. We don't have the resources to provide the necessary medical services to the homeless, and if we did, it would cease to be a library and start to be a homeless shelter. I work near a library and I go during lunchtime. I feel you. It's like, I do think those services are needed, but it's also really unnerving to go browsing and find a homeless guy laying on the floor or something. It makes it less inviting to people who want to go for the intended purpose. Until my senior year of HS, all of the vending machines were stocked with healthy alternatives despite most of them containing way more sugar or calories than the usual. Mine too. Vitamin water was okay. Diet Coke was not. At least we had a 7/11 across the street. Our school has a problem with too many kids vaping in the bathrooms, so you aren't allowed to leave the class 10 minutes before and after the bell rings. Not sure how that rule is supposed to help, but okay. To get a staff ID card you have to complete the online building safety training and take a printed copy to security. To print stuff you need a staff ID card for the badge release printers. To get a staff ID card, hang on a minute, clearly thought that one through, didn't they? At my high school, which I've graduated from and have no clue if they've changed the rule, There was a rule that no tank tops were allowed, which at first seems kind of reasonable as it sounds like they mean if you're only wearing the tank top, but no, the rule was no tank tops at all, which included wearing a tank top underneath other shirts or jackets so that you wouldn't be breaking the dress code with those clothes. This applied to all students and made it very hard to find dresses that could be worn to formal events. No music while working. I work for a major shipping company and just transferred from Portland to Knoxville. The first thing I noticed was that music is no longer allowed because, in all said individual's Appalachian glory, somebody busted their butt dancing and got hurt. So no more music, and to keep the packages flowing, if you're reading this West PDX, I miss you. Girls aren't allowed to wear sleeveless tops to the gym because they are distracting for men. Yet men can wear shirts that show their nips. That just sounds like discrimination. My school building is 360 years old, not joking. Some classes are not heated and you can't sit in your jacket because you look unethical. Dress code. The retail company I work for is very specific about it. They do not provide a uniform or a catalog of approved clothes, so you have to shop on your own time and pay for it all yourself with no compensation. I realize a lot of companies do that, but that doesn't make it right. It gets more ridiculous when you get into what's allowed for hair, nails, piercings, and tattoos. They shouldn't legally be able to control what I am allowed to look like outside of work 24/7 in exchange for 20 hours of minimum wage labor and zero benefits. Two things. 1. Boys had to wear trousers all year around. Girls could wear either trousers or skirts. When it came to the summer and it was very hot, boys weren't allowed to wear shorts. Some people have been known to go in wearing skirts as the uniform policy doesn't mention gender. 2. My high school actually tried to ban hugging. As you can imagine, you can't really stop people hugging, so that didn't last long. Asking questions will get you pulled into a meeting to discuss performance. The next time you ask a question, you get written up. Call center job that I quit. You can skip 10 classes and be punished less than leaving school during the half hour between the end of class and end of school once. A number of years ago in my middle school, they started one-way hallways. In America, you are generally supposed to walk as far to the right as you can when in a public space. If everyone does this, you have a smooth flow of traffic. But people at my middle school were not capable. Thus the one-way hallways caused me to have to go ridiculous ways to get to all of my classes. SMH. I worked at a local pub a year ago. I was forbidden from drinking the cordial. Had to drink warm water on sometimes an 8-hour shift. I'm sure this applies to many other schools, but not allowed wearing a hat or a hood. Why? I understand it's harder to identify someone with a hat or hood on, but if you are looking at someone from the front, you can see their face and can easily identify them if they are wearing a hat or a hood. And if you were to be looking from the back of someone, you won't be able to identify them regardless if they're wearing a hat or a hood. So the rule is pretty useless. Even one of my teachers even said it's a stupid rule, but that they have no other choice but to enforce it. People will look at you face to face, but security cameras look down from the ceiling. They can't see your face if you wear a hat or hoodie. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.